the recording process here too. For those who can't make it today, we have all the previous meetings posted on our website now, and we will continue to post our meetings as we conduct them. Announcements, does anyone have any announcements? Darlene.
Okay, sorry. Next week is Peace. There's a Peace Day, and I'll send out an email to Maurice, and perhaps you could share it. Basically, at 12 o'clock, everybody rings a bell for peace internationally. So it's being organized by the state Honganji, but it's part of an international event next week. So I'll send that to you, and then put on your calendars. October 16th, we're going to have our Kako workshop. And I'll just save the date. And it's going to be from 5:30 to 7. So it's going to be our 5th annual, and we'll have more information on it. Thank you. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else? Hey there, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
All right. There's Paula and Chris. Cool.
So good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Good to see you. So
yeah, looking good. Seeing you guys on TV on your commercials. But star of TV.
Hey, Benson, would you like to talk about the Department of Health service project that's going on?
Yeah. So we started sort of like last week. The Department of Health actually through this lady named Martha Yamada reached out actually to Randy Kurohara, and Randy reached out to me and said, hey, they need some help to do this mask COVID-19 mask research project. And so it's a simple project. You basically go to a spot, a pre-selected spot, you observe people, and what you're looking for is to see if they're wearing a mask, if they're wearing a mask properly or they're not wearing a mask. And then basically you're just sort of counting them. And then you submit it, it all goes through an app, so it's super simple. And in a lot of cases, depending upon where you go, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can just sit in your car and do it. So it's pretty simple. So if you want to participate, I sent something out to everybody in the club. I can send it again, or you can contact me and I can connect you into it. Because they wanted to get the project going like really quickly, they only focused really on like this past weekend and then this coming weekend, but they're extending the sign-up sheet that we actually have to run it through the end of December, 4 months. And so I think the point of it is that as much as they've been encouraging everybody to wear a mask, they're not really sure if people are actually doing that. So the Department of Health now has, through some federal money, has now received a grant to go out and actually post people out there and just sort of take a sampling to see if it's working. And then if it isn't working, or a smaller percentage, then we need to ramp it up, do more stuff about people wearing masks. So that's the point of it. We have 4 locations right now that we're using in Hilo. Over time, I think they'll like to expand it out so that there'll be people that'll be doing this observation as far north as Honoka'a and as far south as Ocean View. So if you have some time on a Saturday, it's a specific time, 9 to 11. It's either 9 o'clock to 11 or it's 100 observations. So you're observing 100 like random people. So if you're in a super busy place like Hilo Farmers Market, or you're in food court at the mall, or on a busy day at the post office, you can really basically rack out 100 people pretty quick. So it's 100 people or 2 hours, whichever comes first. And so it's pretty simple. I mean, there's no paperwork, nothing. You get to the location, you open up the app, you put your name in, the zip code, and then you start counting. And when you get to 100, you're done. You log off and you go home, and that's it. Pretty much. You don't even have to talk to anybody. You don't have to touch anybody. You don't have to interview anybody. You have to do whatever. So That's it.
Well, thank you for sharing. I know
Yep.
I already went on and signed up for one day, I think next weekend, but I still have to go through and watch the training video. So
Yeah, there's a video up there if you want to watch the training video, but on the video, it's basically the same stuff I told you, but I recommend you watch the video.
I'm curious, does the video go over, for the locations, it says like start at Zippy's on the mall? Is you're supposed to start and go through to different locations or walk through?
No, you can be stationary or you can move. It's totally up to you. So what they're trying to do is just get 4 sort of separate locations. So you can work with a partner, like if you want to do them all and one person takes one exit or entry and the other person takes another one, or like they use the example walking down the street. Somebody walks on one side, the other person walks on the other side, but you can, like I said, you can do it totally stationary. So like I said, if you want to just sort of sit in your car and rack them out, you can do it that way if you don't want to do it.
Okay,
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned last meeting, Dennis Fleming with the Hamakua Institute, who also is in charge of one part of the Hawaii Island Food and Agricultural System study that's going on, is going to be coming out with a survey that he wants as many people as possible to participate in. So once that becomes available, I'll make sure that's distributed to our club and the other clubs. But in short, what they're asking for is that you go into your kitchen and figure out how much food you have, basically how many days worth of food, and then an approximation as to how much food was purchased or manufactured locally versus manufactured on the mainland, and also where your food is primarily purchased. So I don't have the specific questions, but those are essentially what the questions are going to be getting at. So it'll be pretty important to the study, for at least this portion of the study, that as many people participate as possible. So when that becomes available, I will make sure it gets out. Do we have any other announcements? Oh, I know. I almost forgot. For those of you who are not aware, Nancy Cabral's husband has passed. And we will be, I'm not sure how we should do this, but I'd like to do a card from our club. I don't know if maybe we can, leave it with Pat Jr. and just stop by and sign it there, if that would be the most efficient way of going about doing that. But I'd like to get that done sometime soon.
How long are you suggesting that a card be available for signature at Iona's?
I figure 2 days, 2 or 3 days.
We can, we can actually do a video, or an online one where we send it out to the club, and anybody who wants to sign it can sign it, and then you can send it to her.
All virtual?
Yeah, to her email. Yeah.
Okay. Could you spearhead that? And
yeah, sure. I can take care of that because I recently departed a place and they sent me a virtual card, so I know it can be done. Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Paula mentioned sending flowers too.
Yeah, we can send flowers too.
Or basket or something.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I forgot one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, and this is a recycling thing, so this is very good. I think I sent it out to the board, but Audrey Wilson donated all these masks, and they're all from recycled shirts for Rotary, and it has.
Oh yeah.
So if anybody wants to use it to raise money, or we can just give it away. But the other club member who got it for their club, they said, "Oh, I'll raise money," and I went, "Oh, I guess we could do that too." But she donated it to us. And it's all Rotary International. So if you want to have it, I'm sure, or else I can buy it for the club and then just donate it. So, but they're in good shape. They are very breathable cotton masks.
So it's individual masks?
Yeah. So
I love a Rotary one.
Yeah, look at this. This is the old style. I think Pete Mueller.
How can I get
designed it.
one?
Do you see it?
How can I get one, Charlene?
I'll get it to you. I don't know how, but I'll figure it out. How much do you think we should sell it, or should we just give it? No.
Or maybe ask for donation.
Fundraise, $10 is good for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
very
Oh, I was
Yeah.
going to say 5, but 10. That's even better yet. Okay.
No, $10 is a great price for a reusable mask. That's a very something that, yeah.
Okay, $10. Okay,
Yeah.
look at it. It's really nice. And this is a good man size too. It'll fit your whole face
That's
and the
me.
beard. And the
That's a
beard.
big man.
Okay, I'll leave it somewhere. We'll get it to you. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Announcements? How about
What
moving
is
on to
Audrey up to, by the way?
what's that?
What is Audrey up to, Charlene? Has she joined another club, or is she just not in Rotary at all now, or is?
She's taking a pause. You know, she's helping Dean with her. You know, it's a tough time, right? When his house burnt down and you know,
Excuse me?
his house burnt.
Audrey's house burned down? I can't hear you.
Oh, crap.
No, it was me. It was me. Her house, Dean's house, burnt down, and so
Oh,
she's
Dean.
yeah, and so she's been babysitting pretty much. So it's primarily grandma duty. But she said, whatever is needed from the club, if we need help, especially for fundraising or next year, she's more than willing to help. You know, whatever she has to do. So I wanted to pass that on to you too. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, I would suggest we try and keep her in the loop. She's, you know, even though we may have disagreements over the years, she's a tremendous asset to the club for a long time. She did a lot, and the information inside her brain is very valuable. So I would suggest trying to stay and, you know, keep her somehow in the loop.
Okay, thanks.
Kat, did you have something you would like to add?
Yes, I would like to be $10 happy for Maurice, our current president. I gotta say, compliments on your lineup of guest speakers. For the last 3 meetings, I've had my son, who is beep boop, 8 years old and in 3rd grade, and I'm now embarking on homeschooling, which is not something I had ever intended for our family. However, due to the uncertainty of the DOE, it makes more sense for our family to take his education into our own hands rather than have it be all online or trying to meet these standardized criteria during a very unstandardized time. So I've been using our Rotary meetings as Leo's science experience on Tuesdays, especially when we're talking about environmentalism, sustainability, waste management. So I'm $10 happy, Maurice. Thank you for helping make my life easier. And then it's also showing him how to be a good Rotarian, how to be a good person in this world and be aware of what we're doing here. So I'm happy.
Was that your cat?
That was
your
mom
cat? You
juggling
like
at its
Rotary?
finest.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh,
Well, we also have our like lunches here, and the cat was like sneaking up behind the computer while I'm talking, and I'm like, this guy's about to pounce on our food. So, yeah, sorry. Real life happens during Rotary at home.
Yeah, yeah.
Little known fact that Kat is actually a
Awesome.
cat juggler in her free time.
Maurice, you got sense of humor like an 8-year-old.
You got a mask too then. Okay.
We never grow up.
You go, Leo. You can get one.
Well, thank you, Kat. Anyone else? Happy dollars. Benson.
Yeah, I'll do 10 happy dollars because I'm happy to be home. I'm happy that Zeta's joining us. So, you know, she's like 5,000 miles away, but still joining us, and it's like 6 o'clock at night. So happy hour for her. But yeah, we had I was there. We got there on the 2nd and was a super great visit. And I hadn't really been out to that area before and learned a lot of history about the Cape Cod area and figured out why people say, you know, I'm going to pack the cat. So, you know, I mean, we think people will have tough time understanding pidgin over here. When you there and say, you know,
Gotta pack the car and have it square.
yeah, you gotta like, how long you gotta pack? You gotta have the car with the smart pack on it. So
Can't pack here.
Yeah, so it was fun. I'm glad to be back. So it's great.
That's awesome.
$10.
Awesome. Got you down. $10. And for those of you who are wondering how to pay, we can go over that in a private email. I can show you online where to pay through our site, or if you want, you can do what Doug does and just take that money and put it in an envelope and wait for the next time that we meet in person, which will happen, I'm sure, before this Rotary year is out. So one way or
Okay,
another.
there's a mask for you. There's a mask for you too.
Oh, awesome. I have 10 happy dollars on the subject of speakers. The university reached out to, I'm not sure somebody, but through our club email on Gmail, the general one, they offered something like 25 different speakers, and I went through and there's like 6 or 7 different speakers that fit into our focuses here. And I wrote to them, they said, you know, absolutely, they would love to have all of them speak. So that's like 6 or 7 more speakers that we'll have lined up. Right now I have speakers lined up through October 20th, I believe. So we're starting on the 27th, we may have some of these speakers from the university. So we possibly may be lined up with speakers into December already. So yeah, very happy about that. So $10 for me. Anyone else? Happy dollars. Okay, moving on.
Me? No,
Who, me?
Maurice, can I?
Yes,
Yeah.
fire tablet.
Yeah, there's Margaret.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have my laptop with me, so I'm using my Kindle. So, yeah, I have 10 happy dollars because it's been such a long time since I've been able to attend a virtual or even a in-person meeting. And it's just, I had a break in my day, and I'm gonna make an effort. I'm gonna make an effort to attend. And I saw your email about the speaker, and I thought, oh, I really want to attend. So yeah, I just want to say hi to everyone. I'm glad to be here, and I'm happy.
Well, we're happy to have you, Margaret. Really, thank you. It's good to see your face. You know, I tell you, I met with our friend Francine yesterday for lunch.
Oh,
it's the
nice.
first time I met anybody for lunch in months. And, you know, it was so nice to actually see somebody face to face, you know,
It really
and
is.
yeah, I look forward to, you know, being able to do that
Getting
more.
back together, yeah.
Even if we're wearing masks when we do, or taking 10 feet apart, you know, and just to get together, some friends of mine get together they get together outside, they're 10 feet apart, and they bring their own wine and their own poo-poos, and they just sit down in the backyard or on the lanai and just hang out. And yeah, that's something, anything. So more interaction to come.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. Most of you know Mattie Larson. For those of you who don't, you've already read the email. So I will, in interest of sparing time, I will just let Mattie get into it. Mattie Larson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Cool, awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. What a fun group of people. And again, I need some socialization in my life, so I've enjoyed just the last 15 minutes. Really quickly, how much time do you want me to take up here so that I can just keep myself on a schedule?
Well, so we go to 1 o'clock officially.
Okay, perfect.
So it'd be nice to have a little bit of time for some Q&A after. Sometimes people like to stay on or willing to stay on longer to ask questions. So if you have a little bit of additional time, and for those who are willing to wait and shelve their questions, yeah, we can work it out that way.
Okay, cool. So I have a PowerPoint presentation. I'll share my screen here in just a second. And I'm going to kind of power through these PowerPoint slides. And if anybody wants to interrupt me, please feel free. However, a tangent can, deter the rest of the slideshow. And then I'm hoping to leave a bit of time for answers or question and answer because I always miss something because we do so much these days. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and jump right on into the slideshow here. And I'm going to go ahead and bring it up to the full screen. You guys all can see that, right? All right, let's go ahead and play from the beginning. All right, so Upcycle Hawaii, who are we? Well, we are reclaimed, repurposed, reinvented, and remade right here in Hilo, Hawaii. Briefly, I am Mattie Mae. I grew up on the Kona side. I am what we call a Holualoa girl. And I have just been a lifelong environmentalist and artist. Literally won my first art contest in kindergarten. And I like to say part of what shaped me is growing up and graduating from high school, kind of before any social media and before computers. And I grew up in Kona before Walmart and Costco. I mean, I literally remembered when those stores opened. So a bit of a perspective that we have there growing up in the country. I like to start with defining upcycle because it is a little bit of a unique word. And what it means is to reuse an object or material in such a way as to create a product or quality of a higher value than the original. So pretty generic, upcycle. And for us here in Upcycle Hawaii, what does upcycling mean? Well, I like to use this kind of Rube Goldberg kind of graphic here to show you that basically what we're doing is we are diverting materials that would otherwise end up in our landfill. And through our creative processes here, we are turning them into reusables that we sell to our customers. So basically we are taking trash and turning it into cash. So for us, that is what upcycling is. Differentiating the differences between upcycle and recycle, because we've really had to kind of make sure that people understand that we are different, right? Upcycling, like we just mentioned, is making something better, whereas recycling is legitimately just turning that back into the material that it was originally being used in. So it's that easy of a differentiation, but still important for us to make. And we talk a lot about the 3 R's, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle. But a lot of us forget that there's a hierarchy to those R's, and they're actually in that order for a reason. Recycling is a whole lot less effective than reusing, which is a whole lot less effective than reducing. And that's in the overall waste reduction hierarchy. And I'm not going to give you any of the details in the text because we're going to jump into what we call the new R's hierarchy, which is the 5 R's. Introducing refuse and repurpose. So obviously, if we could refuse a single-use plastic would be more effective than reducing it. And when we kind of put it up into this hierarchy, we can see like really how inefficient the recycle R becomes. It becomes a really small R down there at the bottom. And really, when it comes to plastic pollution, marine debris, and waste, we're really talking about plastic, right? I mean, we don't talk about a whole lot of other substrates or materials when we get into those subjects. And we all see the little R's on the button or on the bottles and the arrows and the throw it in your blue bin if you're in a place where these blue bins exist, which is all said and good until you really understand what's going on behind the scenes. So when it comes to plastics, which have been introduced into our society since about the 1950s, so plastics are really a new revolutionary material when it comes into like the Industrial Revolution. Since we introduced plastics in the 1950s, of all of the plastic we have ever produced, ever since then, less than 10% of all of that plastic has ever been recycled. These are statistics from Nat Geo, and I'm happy to share these slides if anybody wants them. But like I tell the students that we work with, if you were to get less than 10% on a grade, that's pretty much about as failing of a grade as you can get. So really, when it comes to recycling and plastics, we're failing. It's just not working. A cool thing I thought was that the Great Britain's Royal Statistical Society named the fact that plastic, less than 10% of plastics recycled every year, the statistic of the year in 2019. But then again, nobody really got to hear about it. So that's kind of really where we're coming from, right? Recycling isn't working and we need to change our way of thinking. And I have another unique perspective to this in that I've lived on the island since I was 2 years old. And I have been traveling to the South Point area of the island where my family's been living for the last 20 years since I was a child. My first trips down to the Camilo and Kaunamano areas were back when I was 5 and 6 years old. Now this was within the last 3 years, but you can see that, really when it comes to marine debris, the Big Island of Hawaii is a mecca of marine debris washing up on shore. And back when I was 5 and 6 years old, we took adventures to a place called Plastic Beach, where we ran up and down mountains of plastic. We literally played King of the Plastic Mountain. And full disclosure, I thought it was normal because nobody told me it wasn't. And so here I was playing on a plastic beach, looking for treasures as a kid. And it wasn't until I was studying global environmental sciences in college some decades later that I had this weird realization that, like, OMG, that is my trash and that's not supposed to happen. And if it's already been happening for 20 years, just, imagine the future of that. So, kind of have this unique perspective of not only is recycling for plastics not working, but we live in a place where they're actually washing up on shore and posing an immediate and long-term effect to our wildlife, both, vegetable or, animals and plants alike. And so that's where we came along, right? So that's what inspired me to create Upcycle Hawaii LLC. And we started keeping track of the materials that we have been diverting from the landfills in January 2018. We got the data together. And some examples here you can see where we actually take marine debris ropes, break them back into their plastic fibers, and melt them into accessories and jewelry. We use a lot of colored plastics. So your toilet paper wrappers, most things come wrapped in plastic, right? Those can be melted back down, turn into things like our zipper pouches. We are home to the Ironman World Triathlon, which a lot of us forget here on the east side, but having grown up on the west side, I did a lot of volunteering for the Ironman. There are a lot of busted inner tubes, and rubber is a highly unrecyclable material, really. So that's another one that we work with. And then old vinyl banners. These are just examples of some of the materials that we work with that literally we have no other ways to divert these, from our waste stream. And so it is our mission statement to divert mass from local landfills, giving overlooked and underappreciated materials a second life by creating unique and quality products. And really the key words there for me, at least personally, are overlooked and underappreciated. I like to think, I have to use the word trash in quotations, and think that in my lifetime, I'd like to be one of the reasons that we get rid of the word trash. When we lump something into the word trash, it immediately takes away any value that it may have had before we put it into that category. And simply the act of taking all of our refuse waste and putting it together into one trash receptacle is what makes something trash. Otherwise, with a little bit of love, effort, and the right intention, these things aren't trash. They are literally overlooked and underappreciated materials that have lots of life to give. Sometimes it takes a little bit of elbow grease, love, and effort to get there. But really it's a perspective change as far as, what is trash, right? So that's really also our other mission, is to change the word trash and how we use it. Our vision statement is a little bit greater. It's to change the way our world looks at solid waste and linear economics. And I didn't find any graphics to kind of put up in here. But again, emphasizing the word waste and trash, we just have to rethink the way that we deal with materials once we use them. And less folks are familiar with the term linear economy or the term circular economy. But basically, we live in a linear economy, which means that we take things from point A and we use them and they end up over here at point B, or I guess point Z really, because they have to go through all these processes. But if we buy something that comes in plastic packaging, eventually that plastic packaging just sits over here. So it's a linear model where we're kind of taking from A and just putting at Z, where eventually Z is going to be really heavy and A is going to be running out. Whereas the idea of circular economy is really green and responsible manufacturing, that as somebody who makes goods to go into our society, we would only be creating goods out of materials that at the end of their life cycle could then be put back into the economy. So it sounds a little bit like wishful thinking, and it kind of is, but really manufacturer responsibility and not creating with materials that are going to end up in a pile somewhere. So our greater vision is to change the way that we as consumers accept that type of behavior from, producers and manufacturers, such as ourselves. So here is just kind of a peek into our raw materials. Full disclosure, I have been hoarding plastic since I was a little kid. I always knew that we were throwing away things that we shouldn't be throwing away. Part of what got me into upcycling is that I, as I mentioned, have been a creative my entire life. Making things is what makes me a whole person. And growing up in a very artistic community, but with not a lot of resources, it forced me to get very creative when it came to being creative. And so I've been repurposing and using discarded materials literally since being a child, because they were free things to work with in my community. And then I started to see that those materials were really giving back. It literally, this is a hobby, a passion that has turned into a business. And it is because the fact that the things that we make with our plastics and our rubber inner tubes are products that really have quality to them. Our original zipper pouches are still out there in the world 7 to 8 years later being used. And, when you see something like a rubber inner tube, that material that's really, going to outlive us, we might as well put it to use. This is my Prius. This is in front of our old studio. We have since upgraded to a bigger production studio. And this is plastic that comes from one single resource. I thought back when we banned plastic bags that I was going to run out of plastic. And shame on me, because I really wasn't opening my eyes to where most of the waste that we produce as consumers comes from. And it's not what we see. It's really what I've coined the behind the scenes waste. So we all go into the front of Walmart and we buy our stuff and we go out the front door. But how many of you have been to the back of a Walmart or in the unloading dock of a Costco or a water bottling facility? It takes a lot of materials that are packaged in these plastics before they even get to the shelves. And so we used to get most of our materials from personal hoarding and begging our friends and family. But we have really moved into working directly with local businesses, not only because there is so much material out there, but also as a business that has to be profitable in order to survive. If I can get raw materials that need less initial processing, it puts me in a better position as a business. So we love the companies that produce all this plastic, not because they produce the plastic and we prefer they didn't, but because it gives us, as you can see, basically an unlimited resource, at least for what our current purposes are. And then really quickly, here we go, we got a couple more. So here's a fun little one. So these are some of the materials that we take as donations. You can see diaper wrappers, tortilla wrappers. This is my dad's frozen fruit, which he is addicted to from Costco. And so these are some of the things that we work with as well. And then vinyl banners, which we will be seeing less of. Unfortunately, there are less concerts and shows happening right now due to COVID. But this is another heavy duty plastic that is, not really reused, but thrown away. So we're trying to give it a second use here in our studio. Couple of just graphics that show our transformation processes. The top here is what we call our plastic fetti, where we shred these plastic bags down by hand and we turn these into reusables. All that clear plastic you saw on the back of my Prius, we have a massive amount of clear plastic, a much higher ratio than the colored plastics. So we paint them. You can actually see some on the wall behind me. So we do our painted plastics. On the top here, you can see some of the marine debris, ropes, and nets that we've taken home from beach cleanups, and those are broken down and then remelted to create a lot of our fun accessories. And then you can see some of our banner bags, beach totes down here on the bottom. And so just some examples of the types of upcycling and repurposing that we do here in the studio. And as I mentioned, we actually started keeping track of the amount of materials that we were diverting back in January 2018. So there is a couple of years worth of diversion that we were not doing data, but I felt this was really important. I wanted to see what we were doing. And so as of our last tally on August 30th, we are up to 258 pounds of mostly plastic and just under 19,000 square feet of materials diverted from the landfill. So we hope to see these numbers grow and grow and grow throughout the years. And then we do a lot of collaborations, and pre-COVID, we sold 80 to 90% wholesale So I do like to throw up a partners and collaborators page just to show you the different places, first off, that have supported us. Because to be completely honest, if I wasn't approached by places like Elements and the local board store 3 years ago, that really gave our product validity and invited us to come sell into their shops, it wouldn't have pushed us to keep going as we are. So we also like to give these people credit for helping us to become the business that we are today. And since we're here in the Rotary, it's really important for me to impress that it does take a community. And we did not get here alone. It's really hard right now to look into ways that we can have people come into the studio and help volunteer and help us out. Not only that, but we're a little bit overwhelmed with our plastic donations at the moment, simply because we're not processing as much plastic, because we're not selling quite as much. But we are hoping to, once, as Marie said, we're all able to get around each other again. We're really hoping that we can start to bring more people into the studio that want to learn about what we're doing, that want to volunteer. And I kind of like to throw in one of my favorite quotes here, which of course, Robert Swan, which is: the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that somebody else will save it, because it's really important that we all take ownership and that we all work together, because it is up to all of us, especially when it comes to this plastic problem. It's really easy for us all to think that our one straw or our one bag, doesn't really make a difference, but it really does add up. And not only that, but your decisions actually inspire the decisions of those around you. And so it's really important for us that if you see something that resonates you and you like it and you want to get involved, reach out and get active, because we're waiting for you all to get involved, to help us be the one who's going to save the planet, so we can all do it together. Can't wait for somebody else. And for as much as we love upcycling and we want to be a successful business far into the future, we think it's really important to impress upon everybody that upcycling is not the solution. In fact, we don't want, because we allow you to bring in your plastics to the studio, it doesn't mean that we want to continue to get them. We tell people, we challenge you to put us out of business. We actually like to think of upcycling as a little tiny version of greenwashing. And so, if we were approached by a company who asked hey, if we come in and we have all this plastic byproduct, will you be able to process it all for us? And our answer is, depending on the amount, yeah, we can process it for you, but is that the reason that you're going to use the plastic, and how do we work with you to get rid of that material? So while we're here and we're happy to work with all this stuff and keep continuing to make our products, there are a lot of materials out there. And so we challenge you to at least put us out of business when it comes to, one or two of these materials, because we have closets and storage full of lots of other materials that we want to put to creative reuse. And so we do have a flyer here, which again is available on our website. This QR code takes you directly to our new website, was just relaunched this last weekend. But we do accept materials to our studio. We have hours set up twice a week. So that's going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays between the hours of 9 to 11 a.m. and 2 to 4 p.m. And we try to make it very clear, what we take. But unfortunately, plastics is a very complicated word. I actually, I have written a blog. It's not currently up, because with the new website, we'll be reposting our blogs, over the next few months. But that blog will be reposted. It's called Plastics One Word Does Not Sum It Up. But what most people realize is that plastic is a catch-all word for literally thousands of different chemical polymers that all act differently. And so, unfortunately, not all plastics can be processed. Not all plastics can be processed safely. And not all plastics have the integrity to be processed into a product that has the integrity to go out into the world and be something for purchase. So it's really important. We try to take the time when people come in to teach them as much and little as we can about the things that do make plastics different, because Plastics also are the producer of the most toxic chemicals on the face of the planet. And so we make sure that it's very important to us to know the chemical and physical properties of the materials that we're working with, and work with them under safe constraints and in ways that do not produce toxic byproducts to our environment, because that would negate the whole mission to what we do. But also we try very hard to do processes that don't require electricity. And if it requires a whole lot of water, then we have to rethink that, because water is going to be one of the most limited precious resources, going into our future. And so, diverting materials from the landfill is one thing, but it's also really important to us to try to educate people on how to keep those materials out of the landfills. Specifically, when we live here on the Big Island of Hawaii, we are in an incredibly unique position where, our landfills are full. I was the third graduating class from Kealakekee High School. So I literally went to high school above a transfer station and a closed dump. When the wind switched, we could smell the trash. And not only that, but something that we don't think about all the time is that, not right now with COVID, but when it comes to tourism, when you have people that are on vacation, you got a certain mindset, right? When you go on vacation to turn your mind off a little bit. And when you turn your mind off, you get a little bit relaxed and you tend to use more plastics and things like that. So we're also in this unique situation where, we have this huge visitor base where people that come, they do tours that require bottled water, and they go drink Mai Tais that all have, 10 million straws in them. And so we do live in a really, really unique place where we actually are inundated with our solid waste, but we can be a place that leads by example as far as kind of thinking about a circular economy, which ties into a subject you guys were kind of chatting about earlier, which is food security. One of the biggest reasons that we have so much plastic in our environment is because we buy so many things globally, right? If we bought more things locally from local vendors, they wouldn't have to go through so many different steps and be wrapped in so many different things to keep them shelf stable and sanitized before we got here. And so it's this whole, plastic pollution is such a multifaceted issue that we like to make sure that we come up here saying we are part of the solution, we are not the solution, and that we also are trying to be a part of our community and, changing those things, if that makes sense. And so we would love to answer any questions. Obviously we've tried to save a few minutes here at the end of our kind of speeded presentation, but we would love for you to contact us directly. Full disclosure, I'm not answering emails as quickly as I used to, but if you are in my inbox, you are going to get a sincere reply. And we would love to invite you all to check out our website, our social media. Our blogs are going to be new blogs and reposted over the next few months. And I just would love to hear of any questions or any things that you wanted to hear from me that I missed.
Thank you very much, Mattie. There we go. Video
Wow,
keeps on moving
super
around,
impressive.
but yeah.
Can I just say something real quick? I got to know Mattie a couple of years ago when we were in the business plan competition together, and I got to tell you, man, what you saw today is a culmination of years and years and years of putting this together, of getting the word out, of presenting it in front of organizations, and really we had some sharp people in the group, and Mattie's on top of the game, and so it's really impressive what you've done, and that you continue to have the drive to do this. So the materials is one thing, collecting all the material, but I'm really impressed with all the designs and the kind of little things that you come up with. So where does all that come from?
You know what? It is a combination. I have to admit, I don't get the credit for our top selling materials and designs. We get feedback from all over the place. The first 3 years being in farmers markets were so invaluable to being directly face to face with our customer and hearing what they had to say. And there were some sad moments of me going, oh man, I really love that, but the community doesn't love that, or the buyers don't love that. And so really, you know, unfortunately, also being a business and a passion, there are some times where you just have to go, okay, I guess that isn't a thing anymore. And people are so willing to give me ideas. You know, somebody on social media 5 years ago was watching me fuse my plastics, and then I was going on my beach cleanup, and I posted a picture of a rope, and she goes, well, how come you don't melt that? And I was like, I will be. And, you know, and then somebody else called us up and requested bookmarks for a specific thing that they were doing. And I was like, well, how do we do an ocean themed bookmark? And so really it's being open to listening to the consumer, which was kind of hard for me at first because I came out, this is my thing and my designs. And so we're just always kind of listening. And that means sometimes getting rid of things that aren't working, and being open to, you know, giving a try to new things. However, it's about our processes too, right, Benson? If we can't make them a certain amount within a certain time, or scale to be able to sell those as we grow, then we have to think about the design process as we go forward. So if it's a cool product, but we can only ever make one every hour and we can't scale that, you know, process, then it's probably not going to be a successful product for us for years to come. So it really is a balance of trying to figure all of that out.
So then all the products are all manufactured here then?
Oh yes, yes. So we manufacture
Crazy.
everything right here in our production studio. You know, and my thing is really, I'm very blessed. I grew up in Hilo Elementary School, where we were being tactile with our hands as early as kindergarten. You know, by the time I was in 5th grade, we had done glass and ceramics and everything. So I really feel that for me, one of my future goals is to be able to get more kids. Like one of my sayings is stop texting and start textiling, because we really can do these things. Unfortunately, when us as consumers get so far removed from the process of making things, you just go, oh, it just exists, right? But we do have the ability to do these things. It doesn't take, you know, massive amounts of space or you know, equipment, but it does take that idea of like, okay, we can do that. Does that make sense? Like if you don't know you can in the first place, then you can't go and do. But no, it's very important to us. We've had a lot of people that said we could do better if we outsourced our manufacturing to China, in which case my response is, I think you missed the point, because it's also important. We just celebrated our 1 year of having an employee. And to me, that is one of our biggest milestones, because we're creating jobs in our community. And also we're doing something with our own trash. So yes, we do make it here, but that's important to me. And I'm going to want to make it that way, as you know, is forever.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you for doing that.
Go for it, Kat.
Thanks. We got a question here.
How long does it take to process the plastic of a bike tire
Into the wallets.
or anything that you make it into?
So it's actually rubber that comes off of the bike tire, not plastic. So it's a totally different material. And the rubber is a little bit easier, but what's different between the rubber and the plastic is that the rubber is usually really dirty, right? So when you go and ride your bike around, you're usually riding around outside. And when we get the rubber inner tubes, it's because they had a flat tire. So they're essentially broken. They're no longer usable. And for people that aren't familiar, inside a rubber inner tube is usually a talcum powder liner. And that's part of, it's just part of the process. And so really the hardest thing for us in the bike inner tubes is we have to wash those by hand. And then we do an additional step of conditioning those with, like a coconut oil is what we're using right now. And so if you were to ask me how long it takes to make one wallet, it's a little hard to answer that, because I was making one wallet at a time 5 years ago, but I'm more making 100 wallets at a time now. And that could be like a 3 to 4 day process. But when we wash our inner tubes, we'll wash inner tubes for 2 whole days at a time, but that will be hundreds of inner tubes that we can then process for the next 2 or so months. And every product has a different answer. And part of that answer is what helps us come up with the price for that product. So we have to keep track of how much time did it take for us to process that material? Was there any cost in making that product? So the carabiners we have to buy, so that's an additional cost. So all of those thoughts have to be put in, and there is a bit of time depending on the product. So great question.
And I have a question as well, picking up on what you said, where you have plenty of resources, you have the designs to make them into products, but now the current challenge is who's buying the products, because we're dependent on our tourism industry. And so I can see, you know, back on the logo page with all the different companies that are stocking, a lot of them, you know, there are the local markets like Locavore, which serves our current community. But a lot of them are reliant on the tourism industry. So how are you going to maneuver that? I mean, you can go online, but at the same time, we have joblessness, we have financial stresses in almost every household. So it's harder to, I mean, holidays are coming. Maybe that's a good thing.
Oh, I mean, like, I wish you could have felt the roller coaster my stomach went through as you were asking me that question. But no, I mean, you are absolutely correct. We were very fortunate in that we've had an established website for several years. And we try to be very, what's what I'm looking for? Active on social media, and active in not just selling our product, but in, you know, showing our processes and answering questions and putting out statistics and, you know, all the quotes and everything. So we made a real hard pivot, and in mid-March, when everything started to collapse, we did let all of our employees go for basically the next month. It was just me in the studio trying to figure out what we were going to do. We did pivot into some mask making. So we did about 700 masks that were made from reclaimed materials. So just like Charlene was showing you guys. And then we created a little, I don't have one close to me, but we do a little face, you know, a little pouch to carry your face mask around with. And so we created a couple of new products in response to COVID. And we have just been like hitting the e-commerce as hard as we can, as far as giving discounts, doing a brand new website, which we just launched last weekend. And we are going to be, you know, looking into possibly putting our products back on Etsy and going into shop on Amazon and Google. But it is incredibly difficult. And, you know, even, you know, with our employees, we have to reevaluate literally every 2 weeks, you know, how it's, you know, it's you know, being a small business, and I'm going to become speechless at the end of this answer, because it is very difficult. And I will admit, this has been, you know, the hardest 6 months of my entire life. And it hit us at, try to get emotional. It hit us at a really hard time, because we were just like skyrocketing, you know, we were on our way to Japan and like all these amazing things that were happening for us. However, it's also really forced us to, you know, learn and double down on e-commerce, which I think as long as we survive this will put us in a really great position, you know, to like have all those boxes checked off, and then we can refocus on the wholesale market. But this is really, as far as I'm looking at it as an entrepreneur and a small business owner with all the overhead I currently have, like, you know, this is a make or break moment. And this is what's going to define me as an entrepreneur literally for the rest of my life. And it's, you know, there are times when I just want to lay down and take a nap, and I get an email with some sort of opportunity that's time sensitive. And, you know, if I just have to show up. So, you know, literally, if I was going to stop showing up, I wouldn't have stopped about a month ago, and I wouldn't be here for this meeting. So it's also, I think, a reiteration of like, to people that want to do something you really love and are incredibly passionate about, because you have to be able to do it. I mean, it is me 24/7, you know, 7 days a week. And I say that with love, because, you know, that's what makes us here. But no, it is hard. And, you know, every time there's a grant application that becomes available, or run into the computer and, you know, staying up and filling out the paperwork. But we're just incredibly lucky that we have the support system that we have, and that we live in 2020, and that we can pivot to social media and our website. So in that sense, we do consider ourselves lucky.
Can I ask finally, and sorry, everybody, I'm dominating with questions, but can the products you make, any of them be used for PPE or emergency healthcare equipment needed in hospital? I mean, there's a market if what
Right,
could make for ventilators right now, there's a global demand.
right.
Is that
Well,
enough?
we've looked into making some masks, you know, we've gotten an N95 sort of rated material. The hard thing is if I am going to totally pivot into masks, then I have to pivot out of my other products. You know, there's only so many hours of a day and so many things that can be done, that it was like, well, we're either fully 100% pivoting into that, and we have to then, you know, cross half the things off the list that we are doing. So I have decided that instead we are doubling down on our current products, and we make a 100% organic, reusable fabric mask that is totally hypoallergenic, you know, will biodegrade to the earth with no issues. So that we feel really good about. But also, if you're going to get into like being in that sort of an industry, you have to make sure that you're doing things right, and that, you know, you've got the tests to back it up. And so we do everything at that level, and we're not ready. We're like, I don't want to be at that level and be like the N95 mask person, if that makes sense. No. Anybody else?
Sorry, I've been over here stuffing my face.
Good.
So I was wondering, have you, there's the annual trash art
Trash
contest?
Fashion Show.
Yeah.
Oh, at East Hawaii Cultural Center. Yes, totally.
Do you guys take part in that?
I have not yet. I actually have a piece of art that I've been working on for the last 3 years to get it in there. Unfortunately, my business has just been taking up all of my time. And when I do art, because I still am an artist, I mean, it really has to be like at my level before I submit it. But I have been thinking maybe we could do like some sort of a community project in the studio that then gets, you know, submitted or something like that. And through the Hawaii Wildlife Foundation, we have done a couple of awesome group bottle cap mosaic art projects that I would really like to see recreated in the future.
Yeah, very cool. Whenever I'm demoing buildings, I always think, you know, that could be something, you know, but me too, I just don't have time. Got 2 welders that are just collecting rust right now.
Yeah. We should talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anyone else have any questions?
We'll take comments
Okay.
and concerns too. I mean,
Well, we are actually 2 minutes over our official end time. So with that, I will lead us through the 4-way test of the things that we think, do, or say. What's that?
I just
Yeah,
wanted
and
to
thank
say
you.
Thank you so much. That was awesome.
Yeah,
right
Mattie,
back
it
at you
was
guys.
so great to see you again and hear, man, that you're just starting it. It's really, really awesome. So I'm actually gonna send your contact information out to all the other clubs out there, because there are clubs that would love to hear your message.
Yeah, we spoke to South Kona Rotary, but man, that was like 2 years ago. And so we would love to, yeah, totally.
Yeah. No, there's clubs on Oahu that specialize in the kind of stuff that you're doing. They would love it. Okay, thank you, Mattie.
Yes, thank you. Of the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth?
This is the truth.
Second, is it
Is it
fair
fair
to
to
all
all
concerned? Third, will build goodwill and better friendship. And fourth, will be beneficial to all concerned. And fifth, have fun. Woo! Again, Mattie, thank you so much for joining us, and you're welcome to join us for any of the future meetings and speakers we have. You can always check them out on our website too at your own leisure.
Awesome. I look forward to being more active with you all in the future. Thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Wonderful.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Mattie.
You too. Aloha, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Have
Bye.
a great rest of your days.
Thank you.